All right. Peace, peace, peace. I think we live on YouTube. All right. Yeah, I think we're good. Cool. How's everybody doing today? Y'all doing well? Y'all doing well? Y'all doing well? Let's see. Hopefully we got everything squared away on that. And then we're gonna get started. Won't try to keep y'all too long because I know my goal is always to just try to keep these kind of short and informal. So that way everybody can have the time to ask their questions for new people or people who are just curious about ARNA, IPA, things of that nature, or just some of the perks, benefits, and stuff like that. I know some people are like, what's the real benefits up in here? All right, you in the building, guy. Peace, peace, peace. You in the building. Um, let's see. Get these things situated. I'll share my screen real quick. Next class, I'm gonna get y'all. We're gonna go over some economic stuff. It's gonna be really, 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 really dope. I think it is. Is it? Do I want to do it? Yeah, I think next week. Yeah, because it's gonna lead up into the regional swing in Arkansas. So yeah, so I'll save that for next week. Let me get this situated. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Hopefully y'all have y'all's questions. And again, I know some of y'all like, I already know everything there is to know, and I already know the benefits and stuff like that. Okay. Again, this is for new people. This is for relatives. This is for people who don't know. You can always send them this video. Peace, fam. You in the building. Um, and then if there's any other questions that you may have, right? This video will be used as a template. um, but we won't keep y'all too long. So let me see. Let's see. Let's see. I'm trying to see my screen. Bring that up. All right. We can go ahead and get started, y'all. Let me share my screen so y'all can see. Let's see. Share screen. And in the window. Let me see. Hopefully this will come out really good. If not, technology is trying me today. But we're going to figure it out. And we're going to be all right. All right. Oops. Share. Yo, you in the building. Peace, family. You up in the building. All right. Let me minimize this. Sometimes I'll be leaving notes. All right. Hopefully we'll make this one good and informal. Peace, family. Great to be live with y'all. Hey, you in the building? You in the building? Yes, ma'am. Okay, let's get to it. So the topics of discussion, again, like I said, we'll talk about the investment thing that I want to mention to everybody, but I think it'll be good. But it does require a little bit of teamwork on that, but we'll talk about that next week. So the benefits of ARNA, tribal government, and the IPA, Human Rights Institution. This is stuff that I think every person should know, right? Because why aren't so-called African Americans, blacks, how come they don't know that this exists? And maybe because we're not loud enough, but or maybe they just don't understand, right? Because the question always occurs is, what is the benefit of me claiming my nationality with ARNA or IPA versus just being a 14th Amendment citizen? Right. That's always the question that pops up. Like, what's so good about it that I need to be doing that? And remember, we're not here to convince nobody. That is the truth. Because what's going to happen, it will happen, right? For those who are not prepared. So we'll get into that a little bit. So I got to make the announcements. Y'all know about the announcement. So we got the regional swing in Little Rock, Arkansas, October 19th, free event. come learn more in depth about ARNA, IPA, but really just learn about the tribal government that is actually here for indigenous people. We also have the yearly fast in December. We also have the ARNA Ball, and we also have the in December 30th, and then we have the Hawab Aboriginal Powwow, obviously in April, y'all. So it's gonna be dope. It's gonna be lit. April the 19th through the 21st, and then we have the Aboriginal Summit in August, right, 2025, right. I'm sure there's gonna be more events, but these are the ones that we just know for now, and then you can obviously go to these websites to find more information. And then obviously for those, we just started the fall semester for the Juris course, level 1. If you want to sign up for the next semester, we definitely have those slots open, and they're all on the website for ShabazAssociates.com. And then the Speed Cosmo Show. I know you're like, man, you still talking about that? Yes. We can do it either on YouTube or we can do it in person. We probably will do both, but we just have to have more people who are willing to actually sign up to want to participate, right? And obviously this is the flyer for these things, right? More information. Okay. So why am I bringing this stuff? Why am I bringing this subject up? This is what happens when you let this type of stuff happen. This is on National Geographic. They're talking about the new Europeans. So why am I even mentioning this, right? Because there is a serious problem in America, right? A whole bunch of people, and it's global, right? People are mixing with other people, and it is getting hard to figure out what is going on with the genetics because people are crossbreeding. And so as a result, people are losing their heritage because they're not making it distinct, they're not making it known, they're not declaring it, and they're letting other people declare it for them. As a result, then they're just labeled and denationalized and taken out of their proper status, right? So this is why we have to have these type of discussions, because this is what they're called. This man looked like he from Saudi, right? But they're calling them the new Europeans, right? So they've done this before. They always continue to do this. I think they have it where they was like the new African American. You like, huh? What is that? But these are the terms that they utilize against you, right? So I have to make a note, right? All right. I know y'all like, man, I've seen that slide before, Kojo. That ain't new. You regurgitating information. All right. So really, nationality is your resource. And as much as people are like, but doesn't the Moorish Science Temple do the same thing? They do something that is in a religious institution, which nothing wrong with that, but that's not the same as a tribal government or a human rights institution. Completely different things. So when you actually have, and the key thing that I'm talking about is jurisdiction, but when you have your nationality, meaning you claim your proper status, you're able to remove yourself from leeching parasitic situations and also getting your mindset off of being welfare, treated. Like, somebody's got to hand me this, or somebody's got to do this for me. And it's like, when you're in your own jurisdiction, it's literally up to you. You building with families, you working with yourself, you actually crafting in your purpose, not looking for it, you create it. And it's self-administrated, right? There's no one that is going to hold a carrot in front of you saying, okay, if you do X, Y, Z, then we'll give you this. And if you do this, no, like, it's literally up to you. And we can employ other people within our jurisdiction to get things done, to actually accomplish things. So we just have to get rid of the old model of doing things. And you see it already happening, and it's taking place. Like jobs, people are getting laid off. Things are slow. And the old ways of doing things, of going to a manufacturer shop and work your 6 to 3, are going away because they're using automation and they're using AI. They're using the Internet of Things. They're using all these different things. So you better figure out ways to, one, get better skills, like we always talked about, and just stay hip with what's going on. So, and all of this is possible literally through the 12 councils or 12 institutions that are within ARNA, right? So we haven't even got to the point of what we're talking about, but this is basically the tip of the iceberg, right? All right. So people who may not be familiar, ARNA is the first. Well, we'll talk about it a little bit. So this is the ARNA Shiamaru Tribal Government website. What is ARNA? ARNA is a tribal government for the so-called Negro, Black American, African American, like literally for this group of people. And these are the people that have been displaced. These are the people who have been told that, yeah, you're actually from a whole nother continent when your whole lineage has actually been here, right? And the founder and the current chief is Amaru Shiali, or Amaru Namataka Shiali, right? He's the founder. He is the one that's pioneered this. He's the one that's cultivated his purpose. And so to be an ARNA, you have to have by birthright or through privilege. That's meaning just solely and just sanguineous, meaning you were born here, you have the bloodline of Aboriginal people on North America, or you have it through privilege. So hopefully that makes pretty good sense. So now let's talk about the special benefits, because I know you're like, man, where are the benefits, Kojo? Where is the benefits? And I'm just saying, in a second.
Stop it. Get some help.
In a second. Right. So let's talk about these benefits, y'all. All right. So self-governance and sovereignty. Here's the key thing that most people are missing. Like, ARNA does not have to answer to anyone in the sense of, okay, we are giving you money. Now you have to follow these constricted and almost self-sabotaging rules that we're placing on top of you. We have the autonomy and the self-governance to be able to move and create self-administrative reparations in real time. So that means control over our resources. You can have control over all of your resources, meaning if you do work inside the jurisdiction and somebody pays you, you don't have to pay taxes on that legally. And we'll talk about those specific laws that govern that. So you're literally tax exempt for life. You keep all your assets, meaning there's nobody that's going to come in and say, hey, you don't own that house. And because you just be like, no. It's in our jurisdiction. It's gone through the proper protocols. It's tax exempt for life. We've done the tax exempt application. You can't say that you can control this. You can't seize this asset. That means your bank accounts, all that stuff. Protection of those properties. No garnishment. That means if you have a bank account and somebody's trying to garnish you, they can't do that legally, right? Now let's talk about at least the policy and lawmaking aspect of it. So literally in ARNA, we create policies and laws for the nationals in real time. We have it through different sessions, right? Sounds generational to me. Hey, listen, nobody's doing this. When I say nobody's doing this, nobody is doing this and actually providing real remedy. So we have the spring session, we have the fall session where we actually get together from 3 different houses, from the Ministerial Congress to the NJS and from the chief executive to actually pass legislation for the nationals and their benefit. So for people to say, oh, this is not a real court, or, this ain't, what y'all doing is fraudulent or phony. Listen, we're not fraudulent. We're actually doing what we're supposed to be doing. And there's laws that govern what we do. We have the right to self-govern, literally. So you can see some of the policies and laws that have been passed. You can see the image of the Monthly Fast Act that was passed, right? And you get to see all the bills and laws. You can see the statutes. You can see all that stuff. All these things that govern the government. Yeah, So anyway, hopefully that makes sense, y'all. All right. Let me see. I guess that was the same slide. All right. Culture preservation. All right, so here's something that probably people are not aware of. So let's say you want to go to a national park and it's indigenous or whatever the case may be. You can show your tribal credential and they'll let you in for free. Like if it's a national park, a tribal museum or something like that, usually where they make people pay, you just show your tribal credentials and they'll let you in. Like you won't have to pay. Like that's a perk in itself, right? I know you're like, man, that's not a big deal, like brother Kojo. Like you talking like that's actually like phenomenal, and I'm like, come on, it is. So okay, now let's talk about the preservation, right? Again, like we talked about at the very beginning, you have institutions, you have entities that are telling you who you are, and they're actually trying to destroy your heritage in real time by wiping out everything that is the truth, by telling you you've been imported from somewhere else and you've been brought here, so you're a visitor, so go back to where you come from, and they're telling you African, or they telling you you're not African enough, and it's just like you've been manipulated, misguided, and bamboozled. But what we're saying is that we have institutions, we have councils in place to bringing back and making America indigenous in real time. So this is not something that we're wishing upon. This is something that we're actually doing, right? And we'll talk about some of those details, right? So the culture preservation and the revitalization is key. That's a perk. That's a benefit. So when you realize that you actually are from here, that you're not from somewhere else, you get a sense of like, damn, this is my home. And then you'll really want to take care of it. And then you'll start getting more in depth into your history. You're like, oh, damn, like, yeah, this really does. And then you realize that, oh, there was a person in the quote unquote Native American tribe, like they describe it, that was not getting the benefit. And then you have to hold them accountable to like, yeah, I actually have a relative that was in the Choctaw tribe or whatever the case is, right? So now you're getting that perk there, and then you're also being part of ARNA. It's just one of those things that is just like, when you know, right? All right, let's move on. Economic development. I know I said I was going to talk about the main economic development that I wanted to bring up to the group because that'll be next week. But in all simplistic terms, you can build your own economy. And we've talked about that in previous classes. You can do that in real time by doing what? Starting your own indigenous businesses, right? Where you're not having to pay taxes, you're not having to pay any type of whatever duty to Uncle Sam and not go to jail for it legally. You literally have the freedom to really take control of your economics, your home, your whole situation, and building an actual reservation. So when you're talking about reservation, you're talking about like the ones that I see in Oklahoma or California they be having. Yeah, you can build an actual reservation that is actually having tribal protection. So if a situation pops off and it was on your land that was underneath your trust, that was underneath your within our jurisdiction, ARNA, whoever's trying to come on and trespass, you have to say, hey, are you permitted to trespass in my reservation? You trespassing. Like, I didn't give you permission to come. You need to leave. This is tribal territory. That's how you have to see it, because that is really the reality. And, for those who are like, Kojo, I ain't got no land, and I don't want no land, Kojo. I'll look at you. Oh, you don't? Okay. You may want to consider that. But that's part of the economic development. And then once you actually, again, you're working within your field. So let's say you go to Aboriginal University, and then you get a skill in entrepreneurship within the different councils, and then you start working and you start building in your craft, whether it be genealogy, tribal birth worker, economic specialist, meaning you're able to get the money, right? So another thing that should be aware of, should be afforded to you, that you may be aware of, is that there's different advocacy groups that promote indigenous people to get certain grants, certain loans, credit cards, and stuff like that you can get access to. It just depends on some of them that may say, yeah, we need federal recognition or whatever the case is. And if that's the case, that's all right. Look for the non-federally recognized because there's a certain criteria that they're looking for, basically under the BIA, which we are doing something that's going to address that with another entity that's underneath the tribal government, right? So that's important to realize, right? That's important to know. All right. The health and social aspect of it. You're like, So we actually are the only institution, again, only government that has put together a healthcare program. And, with the through the pioneer of NATO Labs and AMA, the Aboriginal Medical Association, they were able to put something like that together where ARNA members can actually benefit and get in their health afforded to them at a reasonable cost. Did you say I'll start with go? Hey, it's true, man. People be looking at me like that, and I'm like, So that's the thing, right? So if you participate in that, you will see the perks and benefits of how it's actually been working for you in your favor, right? And on top of that, you get a special discount code, for products moving forward and courses and stuff like that. So there's just so many perks, so many benefits if you just did the healthcare program, right? And then we have Minister Washak, who's allowing people to learn drums, and I think that's going to be as a precursor to the course, and that's a little bit more social, arts and entertainment type of field. So there's some things being put together in the entertainment space. Hold on, somebody asked a question. What is it? It says been following ARNA more recently, which also stands as not being African. Yeah, I mean, and that's what that's the main thing that we talk about within ARNA, that people seem to think that everybody is from Africa, or people outside of ARNA thinking that everybody is from Africa, and that's not true. That's not even close. There's people who are actually from here and ain't been nowhere else. Their lineage is only here, but they're trying to force a narrative. So let me kind of get back, and then I'll kind of I see you though, bro, Jonathan, you in the building. So we have the Institution of Health. Again, that's a council within ARNA that's putting together and working with. Please say this. I'm like, you're chill. You good. So we have the Council of Health and we have the Council of Entertainment that are working together to put things on for people, such as, like I told you, Washak is putting together the drum class. And then we have NATO Labs and AMA working together to put together the healthcare program, right? So these are some of the perks and benefits that come with it. And it's really up to the person. Okay. Another benefit, legal protection in real time. Why am I mentioning legal protection in real time? These are the things that govern and protect and only enforce what ARNA has been doing, right? So we have the 49 statute, 1542, indigenous exemption. We have USC 254112, federal jurisdiction and exemption. Boom, right? United States Code, Title 8, 1401, Clause B. Property, dealing with property and it being exempt, not having to pay taxes, not having to do none of that stuff. Then we have the UNDRIP, which is international law, right? And then we have the ARNA/IPA laws, statutes, and then we have the Constitution, right, for those entities, right? And then obviously the U.S. Constitution. These are things right here that are benefits. So when somebody tells you, "Oh, brother, you better watch yourself. You say you ain't paying taxes on your business, Uncle Sam gonna find you, and this is how they talk to you. They talk to you like they are like I gotta watch myself. People talk to you out of fear, and they be saying you don't know what's gonna happen.
You don't know, baby D. You don't know. That's why you're looking at me, because you don't know, baby D.
Know the IRS like I do, and it's like, damn, bro, like I do. Like, what are you talking about? So this is the type of stuff that people try to impose upon you, their beliefs, even though they're not even aware of the information, or they may be aware of the information and they're too scared to do something about it. So here's proof in real time of a whole region within Hawaii Region 6 being exempt in Arkansas, right? We're exempt in Texas, and we're going to be exempt in Oklahoma, right? So as a region, this is stuff that we're doing. This is what, as a government, how we're moving. And these are the benefits. So, but these are the legal protections that govern. So when they say, oh, you can't do lotus on your at your reservation or your house. Yes, you can if it's underneath the tribal jurisdiction. What? Who gonna tell you can't do that? Benefits. All right. So here's some other treaties, international treaties that further back up what I'm saying, right? Like we talked about the UNDRA, right? Then we also have the American Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People. And then we have International Labor Organization for Indigenous and Tribal Peoples. Then we have the World Bank Policy on Indigenous People. Like these are things in place that basically are only further backing what I'm telling you. Now people are like, well, who's really indigenous? I can tell you who is not indigenous, right? And it's the Native Americans that they're talking about is indigenous, right? They're not the true indigenous people that were here already. You know, those are Eurasians, Spaniards, stuff like that, right? You can see some of the things in Lewis and Clark explorations in the notes, how they define the Europeans or white people, and they have the red people, that's the Native Americans, and then the black Indians with dark, woolly hair, kinky. So we're talking about you, okay? All right. Another benefit of the Shiamaru tribal government, right, is we're working with the Republican Party to have our agenda pushed for voting for them and bringing them into office, to have them having the majority of the seat and stuff like that. So we have that in place, and we've already been executing that, and that's part of it. So you need somebody who's going to advocate and represent you, and that's what ARNA is doing. So you need the protections, and you also need somebody who's going to advocate for your rights and make sure that it's protected. So also within ARNA, we have an open forum for nationals to listen in and ask questions to the local leaders in the different houses from NJS, Minister of Congress, and the Chief Executive. And these are the houses that also pass laws to benefit nationals within the spring and fall session, like we talked about earlier. So you need these things, and you need them on not just a local level, but you need them on a global and also on an international level. Like you need all these things, because without these things, this is how rights get, apprehended and, basically violated. So hopefully that makes sense. I know y'all coach y'all, brother. Just bear with me, y'all. All right, education and scholarship opportunities. I know some of y'all, man, I never heard of scholarship happening and nothing like that, Kojo. You, sir, are making that up. And you know what I have to say to that?
Stop it. Get some help.
That's not true. We actually have done the scholarships for a different group, different people. And there's also people who receive scholarships right off the gate as soon as they complete the rites of passage. So there's already so many things that are happening. So we've had people who within the Ministry of Congress that have received full scholarships for different courses, right? So that they can continue on and further in their education, right? So like I mentioned before, rites of passage members also get the scholarship as well, a discount for specific courses at Aboriginal University. And the education that we have is A1 at Aboriginal University. There's nobody doing what Chief Ali has set out as far as like what is being taught as a jurist, what's being taught as a tribal doctor, what's being taught as a genealogist, what's being taught as an economic specialist, all these different things at AU, Aboriginal University. And before AU, there was nothing like this, because you had people going to these universities, going into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. For what? For you to make mediocre money and not even enjoy what you're doing. And I'm just saying. So we have the stuff. We're doing it. AboriginUniversity.com. That's benefit to the tribal members, right? And again, these are stuff that you're like, damn, like, yeah, if you go to, and let's say you go to Choctaw Nation, right? This is very much what they have kind of in place, but they kind of have like where you go either to their university or the outside university, right? But why go outside in the sense of if it's not going to be beneficial to what you are meant to do? You know, it makes sense to go, you know, do what you need to do if it's part of the design. But if it's not part of the design and you don't know why you're going to college, why are you going to college then? Right? So anyway, I'll keep it moving on that. So, all right, community engagement and leadership. You can set up local jurisdictions as families and replicate the model of how the 12 councils run within ARNA. You just do it on a local level. Boom. You have the model, you have the blueprint. So there's no excuse of why you can't get it done. I know why people can't get it done. You know why? Let me play it for y'all because, you know, it's been a while since y'all heard this. Here it is.
And it could be no other excuse other than they think it's bogus or they're afraid to grow. All right? They're afraid to grow.
Afraid to grow. Or y'all don't even think it's y'all don't even think it's real. Y'all like, man, what's the whole point of local jurisdiction? There's a big purpose. If something happens to somebody on a local level, you have local people who are specialized in the different councils that can address whatever issues is going on within the families. That's the point. So that you don't have to go outside. You can literally do it in-house. And then, so that kind of talks about that, right? And then you can get involved in the different committees with the Minister of Congress. I think they have a couple of committees that they have put out there for people to be, if they're interested in. Definitely hit up President Minister Belong about that. He'll give you all the details about the different committees that are open and looking for people to engage in and take on specific roles. I think one of them was like the Ministry of Technology. So yeah, and then you can actually participate in electing your officers that are actually going to help benefit what you got going on or help make sure that you have the protection that you're needing, or just help keep you thriving, right? And then you can even run for those positions, right? That's the whole thing. You can actually run for those. And then you can participate in events. Again, this is going back to the community. So you can participate in the Hawab powwow that we do, or the Aboriginal Summit that has been done for a long time, or the regional swings, the ARNA ball, the rites of passage training at your local jurisdiction level. And then you got the boot camp. Every year we do the boot camp, right? And we also have the Speed Cosmos show, and then we have the Community Family Action Institution. That's the key thing, is that we actually have a council/institution, and that's Brother Manuel's department that's running that. So if you reach out to him saying, hey, like, I have a family situation going on, he can step in, give him with his background in law and stuff like that, and say, okay, yeah, this is what y'all need to do. This is how you're going to resolve the family situation. And he can give you some perspective and stuff like that, right? And that's a benefit. Like, you have these different councils. So let's say you're like, man, I'm having a difficult time making money, rather, or I'm having a difficult time with managing. Hold on, somebody asked me that. Let me see. We have a question on the floor. It says, would this allow us to create a credit union that provides loans specifically to tribal members without U.S. citing discrimination laws? Yes, and that's something that I know y'all like Kojo. You've been working on that forever. Listen, y'all, just patience. But yes, that's literally the point. And they have places where they have a section for tribal associations to start credit unions. And then you have to, like, here's the reality when starting these credit unions. One, you need the security. Two, you need the staff. 3, you need the actual mechanism that's going to manage people's different accounts and at a way that is not going to be compromised, breached, or anything like that. You're going to have a lot of different things implemented. You're going to have the app, right? And then you're going to have to start issuing out your product to different people by basically letting them open up accounts, issuing out loans, right? And we can do all of this stuff in-house, right? Obviously, when you start these type of institutions, FDIC will get involved. So there's specific laws that kind of govern FDIC, but it's really to help ensure your account holders' money in case something does happen, right? That's really the whole point. But yeah, that's literally what we're doing, and that's what we can do, and we should have more tribal credit unions. That's a good question. So definitely that's like literally the point. And we don't have to. We won't be discriminated because it'll be us that's employed at these credit unions, and we're able to work with the people that we want to work with that meet the criteria. And that's literally the point. So hopefully that makes sense on that front, right? Who's that? Okay, never mind. All right, so here's the other thing. Maybe some of y'all are not even aware, but as far as nationals, but literally, if there's a referendum that you want to put in as far as like new laws to consider, we literally have a form that you can fill out. So you can tell us, the government, what you want to see done as far as implemented as far as laws. All you gotta do is like, look, and you gotta be current on dues, right? And you can't be a member of any of these houses, right? This is literally strictly for nationals current on dues. So you could literally put suggestions or considerations for new laws that are going to help make the government more efficient. That's the whole point, is that this is going to help. You're like, okay, I saw this, I've been observing, and I want to put in this. Like, I think that y'all should really consider this because this is going to really help make y'all more efficient. And we welcome that. That's literally the whole point. ARNA is not a tyrant government. And so I want nationals to really start thinking about it. Read your constitution, read the stuff, and really start thinking about things you want to see implemented, right? So that's another benefit. So it's not just a one-way thing, right? So hopefully that makes sense with ARNA as far as the benefits. Y'all know, you're like, damn, brother, you just mentioned park, you mentioned grants, you mentioned what you call it, economic situation, family structures, all this stuff, basically the 12 councils, y'all. And why am I mentioning this? Because those literally are the 12 systems in your body. And you need those things. Every last one of them are needed. So that's there. Now you just got to have the creativity, the drive, and the execution, right? You craft out what you want to craft out, and you'll see that those benefits will only benefit you. And people will see you glowing. People will see you shining. They're like, damn, like, what are you doing? And you're telling them like, yo, I'm part of a tribal government, and I know some people are like, tax exemption. And that's all they heard is tax exemption. But there's other things that go with it. It's just more than tax exemption, right? Family, right? Protection, being in your proper status. I know maybe some of y'all don't care, but like, you can go to these national parks and you get in for free instead of paying. You show them your ID. You literally can do that. So anyway, hopefully that makes sense. Now let's talk about the IPA, right? I know you're like, wait, brother, IPA? Why we need the IPA for? And I'm just looking at you like this. Listen, IPA you need, right? So Indigenous Political Authority. This is the body politic for Indigenous people globally, right? That have been suffering from human right abuses in real time. And we all know what has been happening for some time, right? Hold on, what is it? We got another question on the floor. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to say, how does one become dual nationality, ARNA and non-citizen national? What are the pros and cons? how do we get diplomatic immunity, right to travel? Really, really the enforcement of these. Okay, well, here's the answer to that question, right? So when you go through the qualifications of ARNA, right, which is the just soli just sanguineus, right, rights by bloodline and rights by soil. Oh, you in the building, peace, God. You in the building, peace, 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 peace. Once you meet those, you'll have the dual nationality or dual citizenship status because of the Schneider Act, right? And so with the Schneider Act, that's what grounds you having the dual citizen or dual nationality status. So basically, it could be looked at that you're not a 14th Amendment citizen. So it's a non-citizen U.S. national, meaning you have allegiance to the United States, but you belong to a tribal government. And again, that's all because of the Schneider Act, right? So look that up and things of nature. And so the pros and cons really is that if you don't, let's say you don't claim your nationality, right? You're like, no, Coach, I'd rather be a 14th Amendment citizen. I said, okay. So you like being told what privileges you have access to, meaning you have selective incorporation of your Bill of Rights, so they can pick and choose when they want to invoke it. You're okay with that, and you're also okay with accepting the debt and not being able to question it and being responsible for the United States' debt. And on top of that, you like being out of your political status where you really have no power. So that's kind of like the first part. And then the right to travel, right? So we do issue our own tribal driver's license on a local level, meaning the 50 states or 50 federal enclaves, as well as on an international level. But in order to do that, you have to be in the tribe with at least 6 months to a year, take an exam, fill out the documentation, affidavit, and stuff like that. And then once we clear your background and everything is good, we can issue out a tribal driver's license within our DMV department, right? And so when then you're driving around, as long as you follow the instructions that are listed on when you took the exam and watched the video, meaning your car's underneath tribal jurisdiction, you changed over everything to your tribal status, your name, and all that stuff, good to go. And then you have one of the 50 driver's license, and you also have the tribal driver's license. Even if you don't show the state driver's license, you just show the tribal driver's license. As long as everything matches, it doesn't matter, and you present the documentation, you're good to go. So the worst thing they can do is give you a ticket. And then if they say you didn't have a license, you're like, no, I did. Here's the documentation. Here's the affidavit that goes with it. Here's all this other stuff. You need to dismiss this ticket. And on the international and domestic level, we are allowed to have tribal driver's license. So that's one thing. And as far as like diplomatic immunity, I would say the big thing is that since we don't have at the current moment our own embassy, it kind of makes that kind of difficult. So you just have to get basically the standard passport. But there's a certain way to fill it out that just makes people know that you do belong to a tribal government and it's on the record, blah, 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 stuff like that. So hopefully that makes sense. But I would say the pros and cons from all of that is that if you really don't, if you don't have this stuff in place where they're basically allowing these for example, officers to mistreat you, then they're like, because you didn't claim your nationality, you don't belong to a tribal government, they're like, oh, you're just a regular 14th Amendment citizen that we can abuse, that is quote unquote a Negro or Black, and we will abuse you. And they do this all the time. They go around killing, murdering, stuff like that, right? But it's a difference when you actually have your political status, because they start moving differently. They're like, oh, hold on, you're what? you're not a sovereign citizen, are you? They like try to test you. I'm talking about an example with officers. They're like, oh, is that sovereign citizen stuff? And you educate, you're like, no, it's actually not. I actually belong to a tribal government. Are you familiar with the Choctaw Cherokee? And they were like, oh, they have a different tune, and they're like, okay, we have to be careful because if we do something wrong, that's our ass. Even though they're going to want to do what they want to do and try to abuse you, try to get you to get out of character, try to get you to say, yeah, I'm black, this, that, and the third, or yeah, I don't belong to no government, blah, blah, blah. This is their goal. And so that's why, it has, when your car's in the tribal jurisdiction, they cannot do what they normally do. Watch them try to impound your car for no reason. Man, you could issue a lawsuit so quickly because, again, the laws that we talked about, 1401 dealing with indigenous property, they're not allowed to do that type of behavior. And if they do, they get held to a hefty fine. So that's what I'm saying. Like, these are the pros and cons. If you don't do it, right? Con is that it's protected. Like your assets and stuff like that, like we talked at the beginning, are protected. So hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, if you're like, Kojo, I've done my best. I've done my best. But that was a good question though. Okay, so IPA, we know that this is for indigenous people globally. I know you're like, Kojo, you said, I know, I'm trying to speed it up. Body politic for indigenous people globally. So maybe people who don't necessarily meet the just sanguineous requirement, because either you have parents that are from Jamaica or from quote unquote Africa, but you were born in the United States, so technically you don't meet the just sanguineous, which is the bloodline part, right? So you would be in the IPA, according to our Constitution and to the IPA Constitution, right? So, or let's say you're like, Kojo, the fast and the stuff that's law, I don't want to do it because I just want to be dysfunctional, and I'll just. Oh my God! Wow. Wow. Is that all it took? Because it's too strict, it's too disciplined that you're like, you know what? I'd rather be in the IPA. That's cool too, right? Nothing wrong with that. For those who meet the just solely and just sanguineous, and let's say you want to start in the IPA, that's cool too. You can always go into ARNA because you meet the qualifications. And I did forget to mention this part, is that people who are in ARNA automatically are in the IPA. So you have both the institution, the human rights institution, as well as being part of the tribal government. So you already have access to these things if you meet the ARNA qualifications, right? But for those in the IPA, unfortunately, it's a little different. So you're only in the IPA, right? But for those who do meet the ARNA just solely just sanguineous, you can always go back. You can always participate in ARNA whenever you're ready, and you follow the laws, the Constitution, and stuff like that whenever you're ready. We have some people that have obviously done that. So hopefully that will answer that somebody's question that may be thinking that, or for future reference and stuff like that. So let's talk about the special benefits, because you're like, ooh, brother, is there any really perk? Because it's not ARNA, you know what I mean? And, let's talk about the benefits, y'all. So, same thing. As far as protection and cultural land rights, IPA, ARNA is working with the Republican Party to have specific agendas pushed for indigenous people. You can go to parks. You can go to parks for free, national parks for free, obviously. And then there's also the legal protections in place. Again, with the IPA Constitution, laws and statutes, the UNDRIP, United States Constitution, and then treaty enforcement. If there's any violations that have happened to you, and particularly, which we've done before, where we ask people to participate in the IPPP, which is the Indigenous Political People's Party, to sign up and let us know what violations have occurred to you. And we've also gathered up all the cases of major quote unquote Black people, Indigenous people, Aboriginal people who have been violated. So we've already gathered all that information. So, and there, I don't want to speak on that because that's a little bit something that I don't want to throw off any strategies that we have going on. But just know that that's literally a human rights institution that's advocating for indigenous people's rights. So, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So, IPA is fighting discrimination. I know some of y'all who were like, let me give you an example. Let's say you were fired because you didn't do you know what. We could help assist you with that, right? And get you the remedy that you need, because given you may not be in ARNA, you may not even be in the IPA, but you are part, if you sign the membership form for the IPPP, that's another window into where we can actually provide some assistance. So we're fighting against these things because these things happen on a constant basis, especially when you were interfacing and working with these different institutions. Example is the bank. I don't know how many banks have discriminated against quote unquote black people or indigenous people because of their national origins. They're like, you a Negro? You trying to get some money? Nah, we're not allowing that. And that's literally discrimination. They're not supposed to be doing that. And they do that all the time. Try to get a house. You see how they're handing out houses in California basically to immigrants. They ain't got no papers. They're like, yo, just come vote. Come vote. We'll give you house and money. Hold on. How are y'all doing that? I don't want to say it because I don't want to get in trouble. So we have skilled tribal jurists in the IPA that can also assist and provide protections to people who have been violated. So that's the thing. And then just basically equal access to resources. So let's say you have a indigenous business because you get in the IPA and you get an indigenous business. Well, you can get access to funding. You can get access to business credit, grants, loans. When they see indigenous or a tribal entity, they look differently. They're like, oh, unless they're trying to discriminate. So like when you're trying to open up a bank account, a business bank account, they're like, oh yeah, is it what? Tribal what? I don't know if we can do that. Let me go ahead and ask my manager, knowing good damn well that they can. Watch them try to discriminate. They know their ass is in trouble. So that's why like we always tell you to look over your documentation, make sure you understand, you know what you're talking about, make sure the jurist has fully briefed you in the sense of giving you instructions of what you need to do. Right? So again, that's a benefit of the IPA, the human rights. You have somebody who's going to advocate for you if something does happen to you, whether it be discrimination and stuff like that, or just addressing legal violations. And then just having access to resources, right? Building up alliances. You can build up strategic partnerships without compromising your indigenous status. And it can be on a local level or a global scale. So you can have partners in Jamaica, Africa, quote unquote, Australia, all over the world. I think I was told that there was like there's a soul food restaurant in Japan. I said, soul food restaurant in Japan? You could build an alliance with that family, right? It just doesn't matter. It's literally on a global scale, and you can do that. So that's a perk, and you won't be compromised. That's the important thing that I need people to understand, is that you're in a different jurisdiction. So unless you sign some type of contract that compromises you, you're not going to be compromised. You have to pay attention to the laws and stuff like that govern it, but we already talked about those things that cover or govern, right? So hopefully that makes sense with the IPA, ARNA, perks, but what is it that we're really addressing? We're addressing the international local genocide. That's really the issue. And this has been happening for eons, right? Where indigenous people have been mistreated. They've been swept underneath the rug. They've been a deliberate target for genocide. I mean, all these different experiments, the Tuskegee experiment, like indigenous people were specific targets. They have you in mind. And that's not right. And that's the whole point of these different bodies, like the tribal government, and the human rights institution is to address this. So this is literally the answer to the genocide. Proper nationality, proper political status with the proper laws, legal language, and then self-reparations in real time. We'll talk about a real simple thing that a lot of people may not be aware of, right? And then just the institutions in place. Like when you have people who are creative in their divine purpose and they're building out these institutions that are benefiting a specific group of people, this is no different from what the Jews, strike if you may strike, have done. They've basically spent the majority of the time conquering financial strategies, funding things, taking over countries, taking over institutions, and then leasing it out or providing loans. Like, you could do the same thing too. You could give out loans to people. We could do that in our jurisdiction. Hold on. I'm gonna get to these questions, y'all. Give me 1 second. So these are things that are answers to it. We could do the exact same thing, and we could do it better. All right. So, like I told y'all before, this is who has been milking and winning based off of being indigenous, utilizing a genocidal document known as the Dawes Rolls. They like, yeah, we the real wink wink Indians here. Man, if you go Indian, break down the word Indian. Dark hue. Whew. Crazy. These do not look like dark hue people. And to make it worse, they're calling you African. Even Africans are not African, right? They belong to specific tribes with specific names. So even the word African was used by Romans for their local for the jurisdictions that they own. African Nova, African Vetus, these are names. And then the name comes from a white Roman goddess named Africa or Dia Africa. Like, make that make sense. So yeah, these people, the continent of Africa does not even call themselves Africans. That's another group of people calling indigenous people a specific name out of their tribe. That's the issue, like we talked about. The new Europeans. That's really what they're doing. But they're calling Aboriginal people of North America Africans, and that is incorrect. All right. Same thing before, right? We talked about this before. So I just wanted to just kind of share the stuff that like kind of bring it all together, right? So lastly, just to kind of like make it make sense of the benefits. And I'll summarize a lot of this stuff too. But the problem is we've allowed a small group of people to tell the world who we are and rewrite history. Literally right underneath our eyes. They've rewritten history. Some things have been wiped off the face of the planet because a small group of people are pulling the strings. So self-identity is key. Jurisdiction is key. Literally, UNDRIP, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Everyone has the right to a nationality, and no one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his or her nationality, nor denied the right to change his nationality or her nationality. Self-identity is the power. And if you cannot self-identify, then you're a slave. 14th Amendment says basically. So look, Article 1, Article 16, every indigenous individual has the right to a nationality. Indigenous people and individuals have the right to belong to an indigenous community or nation in accordance with the traditions and customs of the community or nation concerned. No discrimination. So they cannot tell you cannot be part of the human rights institution or the tribal government of that nation. They cannot tell you. But they do that already because they do it with the Dawes Rolls. They're like, you're not indigenous. Yeah, you may say that, yeah, your grandma told you was Cherokee, but we don't see. Can you tell us the roll number? Even though they know the roll number. That's their way of filtering and discriminating against you. But what we're saying is that ARNA has that remedy in real time. So does the IPA, right? So you can claim your nationality while being part of a, let's say you wanted to get your resources from the Cherokee because you have proof that you know the roll number and everything. You got the birth certificate and everything. Go get those resources. Why wouldn't you? So anyway, hopefully that makes sense. All right. Here's the other thing that most people aren't aware of. You can get this book. I'm not the only one. I'm just one of the authors, right? The Indigenous Reparations, Reclamation, Restitution, the practical guide for the so-called Black American. Literally, everything that you need to know to make a better future for your family and for generations to come is in this book. Talk about economics, talk about starting your own plebiscite, talk about utilizing tax exemption to protect your resources and your assets. I know y'all like, huh? I know you're like, what? Huh? Y'all still here? We almost done, y'all. But this is a real guide, and I know some of y'all like, well, I read it, Kojo, and you know what? It wasn't all that hot. We must not be reading the same thing because most of y'all's questions is in that book. Now, the question is, are y'all able to interpret and actually execute on it? That's a different story. Listen, I've been trained as a jurist, as a tribal lawyer, right? That's a different story. So if you need help, that's a different story. But the remedy is in this book. So we provided the remedy. So there shouldn't be any doubt of that this works. We're doing it in real time. We're just showing you the proofs of the labor that we're doing. So hopefully that makes sense, y'all. Right? And again, like I said, it's the Shiamaru tribal government is the only one that's doing this. Your Black leaders, your red, black, green groups, your Pan Africans are not doing this. They don't have a remedy. They do not have a solution to the issues that you're going through. I'm just telling you. Who's told you about that you can actually put your property under in a tribal jurisdiction and it be tax exempt? Nobody. Because you know what these churches is doing? They utilizing their tax exemption and not expanding it to you. And so are these corporations that are for the government and stuff like that are building stuff for anyway. They are also utilizing their tax exemption. But they're not sharing it with their employees. How odd. Just saying. So we're the only institution, we're the only government doing that that's actually for Black Americans. So what is the meaning of nationality? Simplicity. Being part of a nation. A nation has its people and has land. You need land. Flag, constitution, and institutions. Critical. And reparations is not an opinion. It's a political remedy, y'all. So, summary of the benefits. Again, taxes and businesses. Save more money for your family. You have different education that you can do to get the different skills to start being an entrepreneur. You have the vaccine contraindications. Like that was a big thing 4 years ago. And it's still a problem. Some people did not know that there was a remedy to not have to take the vaccine. Aboriginal Medical Association, ARNA was the only one that provided that, where your leaders in the Black community had no answer. They just told you, oh, well, you could go ahead and take it and get we can detox you out, even though we've provided a detox mechanism. So it's like, not only did you not have to take it, but we also have, if you did take it and you were apprehended to take it, we had a detox. It actually worked. We also talk about the science of mating, the benefits of science of mating. Like you need to be with somebody that is on the same page as you. And if they're not on the same page with you. Y'all need to have an honest conversation about how we're going to move forward. You're like, honest conversation, but you don't
You don't know, baby D. You don't know. That's why you looking at me, because you don't know, baby D.
I'm looking at y'all whenever y'all talk to me like that. I'd be like, I mean, did y'all have an honest conversation? Like, can you be honest to say, listen, this is what I need. This is what I need you to do. And other side, can you be honest enough to say, either I'm going to do it or I don't want to do it or I will do it and you'll get it done. So we have the health, legal services, we have indigenous protection under domestic and international law, generational wealth, being in the proper status, basically the road to freedom. This is literally the freedom path where nothing is leeching off of you. Let's talk about the economics. We can remove debt all day, every day. You like, what? Debt? Huh? Yes. That's also a benefit, y'all. I know you're like, stick with me. And then just providing protections for indigenous people, right? So hopefully that makes sense. Again, when you start businesses in the tribal jurisdiction, it's tax exempt, you save money, you can do contract with the federal government, right? You can do all this stuff. You can get grants, right? But be careful because some of these things may require you to do something and that will force you to have to pay either state tax or something like that, right? All right. So let's move on. And then these are the type of businesses that we can start in our tribal jurisdiction. So here are just some examples of tax exemption in real time, literally. Tax exemption for on Amazon. I know y'all be like, ooh, Kojo, you didn't tell us how to do the Amazon tax exemption. Huh? I did though. But this is in real time. I know y'all shop on Amazon. I know y'all do. I do too. Here's an example. Tax exempt for life, 501D. Property tax exemption. You can get this in real time. And then lastly, y'all, I got to talk about it. Make your health a priority. Some of y'all, listen, y'all going to be gray and old and you're going to be pushing in the hover round because you didn't take care of your health. And I know you like, damn, not a hover round. Or worse, you're in a hospital bed. You about to key over because it is dire situation, or you having to get chemo, and then you talking about what do I do? Hey man, we've been telling y'all. Every decision you make every day will result into something that you will end up paying for in the end anyway. Every day that you subtract from your health, you'll end up paying the biggest fine in the world, and that's immobility or worse, bad health that you'll be in so much pain. So make your health a priority, y'all. I won't spend too much time on that. And I'll just open up the floor for questions. So let me take that off the screen. I saw one question that I just want to make sure I answered. I saw that. He said, thanks. Does ARNA have instructions on how to gain control over strong man filing use? Okay. So one, you'll never own that. That's important. So ways to address that, right? Let's say that you started a family. Let's try to give your family and offspring a chance. You don't have to do the birth certificate. You don't have to go to these hospitals. You can utilize a tribal birth worker or a midwife or a doula to help give you the home birth that you need, that you require. I mean, think about it. Why would you let another man look at your woman's vagina? And that's the truth. That is so crazy. But there's a remedy for that, right? So moving past that, you don't have to do all that, and they can still get the benefits of having access to the system, getting a social security number, getting a tribal business already started for them, or you're building it up for them, and so that's one aspect of it, right? So, and then they can still get a passport, they can get a driver's license, they can still do all this stuff without the birth certificate. Now, the worst part about that is that we don't have to. Who is that? We don't actually have to do the UCC one. We used to do that in the past, but it's not required. Not at all. Because again, how we structure the trust, how we structure things, it'll take care of most of the issues that people are trying to address. And like I said, you can never control the straw man. That's a little bit more of the sovereign citizen type stuff that does not work. And I know people are like, oh, Kojo, you show is wrong, brother. I seen somebody take control and, got $1 million. How I'm looking whenever I hear that conversation. I just start tuning out. I'm like,
Stop it. Get some help.
I want to tell you, stop. So, and it's not just, I'm talking about just people in general who go down this rabbit hole. They're like, oh yeah, you got to get the injunction and blah, blah, blah. You'll be on the do not pull over list. And I'm like, brother, sister, you can be pulled over at any time. These are public roads that you are driving on. If it's not in your reservation, meaning in a tribal jurisdiction, and the roads that you build on, you made, you crafted, is in a territory that you put together, that's a public road, and people can tell you what they do in accordance to ordinance. So you can be pulled over for no reason. You can be pulled over just for being indigenous. Has that ever happened to any of y'all? I know that's happened to me. I wore a do-rag, roll down the window in my Honda, and next thing I know, I see a whoop. I'm like, why am I being pulled over? And then the officer was like, do you know why I pulled you over? I looked at him like, huh? What do you mean? What am I being pulled over for? He said, he looked in my window. He said, oh, I thought you had a crack in your windshield. Have a good day. And then he walked off. So you can be pulled over for anything. So you can't gain control is what I'm trying to say. You can't gain control of the straw man. You can't gain control of the birth certificate. Stop wasting your time doing any of that stuff. Like a lot of that stuff, a lot of those practices, paying your bill with, 1099A, blah, 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 watching people on TikTok doing the same thing. You about to either injure yourself, get a visit from the feds, or worse, go to prison, right? So what I tell people is like, the best way that you can better yourself is to claim your nationality. That's literally clear in stone that everyone has the right to a nationality, and no one should be apprehended from getting and claiming that. And if they are apprehending you, then you have an issue, and that's when you have legal backing. Like, let's say, for example, and this has happened before. You go through the process of nationalization, and you're changing your name because they make you do that because the common law name change is not sufficient no more. Keep that in mind. So those people who are old that have not seen updates of ARNA's processes, you do have to get a court order name change in the U.S. jurisdiction. So you go down there, they're saying, why are you changing your name? You like, because I'm claiming my nationality. They say, denied. And you like, denied? Huh? Denied? You should be thinking, ding, ding, ding. Are you sure you want to deny me? They were like, yeah, that you can't change your name because of that. I said one more time, are you sure? They said, yeah. Ding, 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 lawsuit. Because they're apprehending you from doing your restitution and reclaiming your nationality. So that's a simple step. I even give you one step further. I won't share most of the details, but like, there was a situation I got into, and I basically drafted up the initial report because of a car accident. The insurance company was like, who wrote this? Because it was so well drafted, it was like an attorney put that together and has them trembling in their boots because they're like, ooh. our insurer done messed up. Yeah, they did. And I'm gonna hold them accountable. Right. So the idea is that like once you have your proper status, you get your credentials updated, you're operating in a tribal jurisdiction functionally, you don't even have to worry about the straw man situation because as long as you operate in the proper jurisdiction, proper venue, doing your businesses and stuff like that, you don't even have to worry about trying to own the straw man. What is the owning the straw man going to do? I know. You know what it's going to do for you? Wait for it. So, but y'all know y'all like, nah, Kojo. It does something. I'm like,
Huh?
I was like, does it? It don't. And don't waste your time. Focus on managing your resources, managing your energy in a tribal jurisdiction. That's how you remove from leeches, parasites that are feeding off of your creativity, your energy, your work, and design your purpose. So hopefully that makes sense, brother, or sister. I'm pretty sure it's brother, but yeah, that's a good question though. I think a lot of people do think that these remedies or procedures, like with the UCC or just with the sovereign citizen stuff that they do by discharging debt, sending back the bill saying, yeah, not acknowledged. Folks, there's literally laws in place for you to discharge debt legally. And you ain't got to go through all that rigmarole. Some of y'all like, but it says in the UCC, the Uniform Commercial Code, blah, 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 that, yeah, this debt is, American Express can't do this, that, and the third. Listen, y'all wasting y'all's time. Wasting time. You won't get it discharged and you'll get frustrated. There's actual real remedy to actually discharge that stuff. So hopefully that makes sense, y'all. I know we've been going on for about an hour. I know y'all like Kojo. You passed your 30-minute mark, brother. I know. I tried, y'all. But if there's no other questions, I'll give it like a minute or so. Otherwise, if there's no questions, I appreciate y'all's attention tonight. And we'll continue on with the show. We'll have a really good class next week. This one's going to be focused on economics, and there's a particular opportunity that I think I'm still evaluating it, but I think could be good as a collective, but we'll find out. So hopefully y'all learned a lot. Hopefully this was clear. Hopefully this makes sense. It gives you kind of a path of like, okay, yeah, I didn't even realize that, this was some of the perks, even some of the things like maybe like even I talk about like the voting stuff, right? Let's say you set up your situation where you like, okay, let me not voting, but jury duty. You set up everything right. You got your status and all this other stuff situated. You can exempt yourself, depending on the state, from having to do jury duty. But you have to look up the rules and regulations within your state, right? But having your indigenous status will help. Hold on, you said not own the straw man, but notice that the living soul and core person is separated and putting a first position lien on it. I mean, what would be the point of putting a first position lien on it? Like, the best way to let them know that you're a living being or person is to actually make it clear that you have a nationality, right? You're telling them that, hey, listen, I belong to a tribal government. There's certain laws that are for. I'll give you an example of this. There was a trustee. He was trying to steal somebody's property, and that was his main goal through his bankruptcy. He's like, yeah, I'm about to steal your property. You ain't about to. He said, wait, what exemption is that? He said, man, that ain't legit. He said, that ain't real. He said, where did you find that? How did you know that even existed? You ain't supposed to know that. I told the person to tell what they said. Research. Google. But basically, you give them notice by telling the people or entities that you're interfacing with who you are, with your proper proper status. Declaring that you are separate from the strawman, the best way to like not get caught up in all that is really just to let you have to tell people who you are. Otherwise, they'll tell you who you are. And that's where the disconnect happens, is that people allow other groups of people to tell who they are, which is what I was saying at the beginning. And putting a lien on the first person is not going to do anything. It's not going to make you any more wealthier. It's not going to do nothing. Like, what I'm telling you is you're going down a rabbit hole that is not fulfilling. What is really going to get you real remedy is actually being in a tribal jurisdiction. There's only two types of governments. Because when you say, when let's say you're not part of a tribal government, and you're like, yeah, brother, I'm a citizen of the Washington state. I'm like, that's still in the U.S. jurisdiction, brother, sister. So what jurisdiction is it? Well, it's the jurisdiction of Washington. Brother, it's the two types of governments, United States and tribal, at least on North America. So that's how you have to play it. And if you're not within a tribal jurisdiction, you're in the other jurisdiction, and you're subject to them activating certain rules on and off. And that's why I'm telling you that if you don't understand jurisdiction, that is really the situation. So owning the name or the being, or not even owning, but just letting them know you're separating from that is the best way to put them on notice, is to let them know who you are and who you belong to by declaring your nationality and actually being part of a tribal government that's going to afford you the protections. Let's set an example. Let's say something happens to you and you die for whatever reason, and then CPS for whatever reason tries to step in and get your children from your wife because you passed away and you were the only one that was providing. If your house, your children, if your house, children, wife are underneath a tribal jurisdiction, they claim the nationality, CPS has no jurisdiction to step in. They cannot step in. How can they step in or come into your property that's tribal? They have no jurisdiction. Or let's say they try to, and then we have to issue a letters of rogatory and say, you need to cease and cease. We're taking care of that situation if it is a situation in our tribal courts. So let me see, I guess you said something else. In my case, has over 35 years of contributions to Social Security. Strawman is due those benefits. I'm not surety for its debt. You are if you're operating as a 14th Amendment citizen, that you're responsible for the debt. That's literally what it says in the Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3, / the 14th Amendment. It literally says that citizens are responsible for the debt, and they cannot question it. So you may have contributed to your Social Security. You can get benefits. Like, that's the whole point of like the dual nationality or dual citizenship. You can still have access to Social Security and withdraw from that. You have access to that. Like you're afforded that, being of that status. But if you're trying to get the treasury account, where you're withdrawing a lot of money from that account, listen, you don't do that as an individual. Let me tell you that right now. And again, that requires a specific strategy. And even then, that's a wishful dream to even try to attempt that, because again, you'll get a visit from the feds. So it's just, if you're trying to withdraw and get stuff from like Treasury Direct, you never want to do that. I don't even encourage doing that. You only want to do that as groups, and even then, there needs to be a strategy. Otherwise, do not mess with it at all. I agree with changing. Yeah, I mean, that's really the remedy, is when you remove the status of being a 14th Amendment citizen, which is an art, and you can be considered, which is what the name, the straw man, is considered an artificial person. That's where that status comes from. And that's why you want to get into the proper status by being part of a body politic or plebiscite or a tribal government, right? That's what's providing the protection. That's what's providing the real remedy. Versus going we've seen it. We've seen it where people go down this road of, yeah, get your UCC, do your UCC, and then get notarize and authenticate your birth certificate, like, or if you put a lien on it does nothing, or send back the debt to them saying that you don't acknowledge it. It doesn't. It's no real remedy, and people are chasing a pipe dream. And that's what I'm trying to tell people feel like wasting their time. Dr. Ali has talked about this, and we have receipts that it does not work. I've seen it. Hold on. Does ARNA have a May selection process? Yeah. So the question in the chat on IG is, does ARNA have a mate selection process? We do. And utilizing cosmology is going to help really make things clear as far as your mate selection process. So doing the cosmology, you have to have your birth, knowing your birth card, which is you, the person, down to your soul. That's who you are. And then you got your planetary ruler, which is how the world sees you, or your character card. And then you got your planetary number, which is what you need to master in order to ignite all the others. And so once you know your book of you, if you know your book of you, you have a fundamental understanding of how you move, how you operate, what makes you tick. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you were spade. I know that if somebody disrespects you, you are one gas fire lit from burning everything down and in its path. So you have to control your anger. You have to, but don't let people spit on your or doo-doo on your shoe. You check them properly, but don't be sitting here trying to blaze a whole trail, burning down everything in its path, right? So going back to the mate selection. So once you know that, you should ask the question to the person that you're interested in courting. Hey, when is your birthday? I would like to know, when is your birthday, so I can understand your character. And that's how you really gauge of how a person works. Once they tell you that, you can determine, okay, will this be a good fit? I'll make this disclaimer. Just because it doesn't follow formula doesn't mean it can't work. It just means it'll be an uphill climb. I always say that. So why? Because as long as you can be honest with each other by communicating, you can make anything work. So I think some people just sometimes they lose sight. So let's say that there's a mutual Mercury with that person that you're dealing with. Well, you're going to be good communicators with each other. You're going to have the same interests. You can do commerce. You can do business with each other. And it's going to be really easy with the communication and talking. Let's say you have a moon vertical to somebody. You're going to be kind of giving them more energy, and it's not going to be reciprocated. So we have a whole mate selection process that can be read and seen in the I didn't even pull it out in the cosmology book, but as well as the book that Dr. Ali has wrote, which is The Power of Sex, right? So all this stuff is a whole process that we've laid out that takes the guesswork out of a person. And when I tell you that everybody should know this at this point, the most important thing you about to do is who you about to choose to marry and who you about to choose to start a family with. You ever chose somebody and you've been in a tight prison? You're like, I can't be myself. I don't even feel like myself. I feel like I'm dying of quiet desperation. You chose wrong. And you're not being honest with the person. Because if you are dying of quiet desperation, you should have the honest conversation to do that. And then there's other questions you can ask of the individual, like, how was you raised? Did you have both parents around? How was your relationship with your father? How's your relationship with your mother? Do you have an STD? Have you ever had an STD or STD? How do you express intimacy? Are you comfortable with intimacy? Do you want to have children? How do you there's a whole list of things you should be asking. Are you vaccinated? I always have to throw that out there. People be like, oh, Gojo, that's really, really not important in 2024. And I'm like, a liar is very important. So anyway, you ask those things, and then once y'all can be honest with each other, you figure out, okay, what do you really want to do? What does family look like to you? Do you want to have children? Some people have told me in the past that like having children is barbaric. I was like, oh, not barbaric. You know what that means for me? I'm like, maybe how did you get here then if it was so barbaric and you don't want to? That's just not the person for me, right? So you do these things. You start courting, you enter into a courtship contract, you list it on ARNA, and then y'all start talking about really serious things and how y'all gonna craft a life together. And you use the cosmology to assist all that to put those things together. So you're not guessing and you don't understand who you're dealing with. That is really the primary issue, is that people don't know who they're dealing with and they are freestyling. Huh? I know y'all like, wait. You said a whole lot of words, sir. Listen, I'm telling you, y'all be looking at me.
You don't know, baby D. You don't know. That's why you're looking at me, because you don't know, baby D.
Special. I'm like, man, I'm sure they are. But are you honest enough with them to tell them who you are? And do you even know who you are? And can you communicate that truthfully? Honesty, folks. Intelligent loyalty, right? These are the things that are like, plus we do have the science of mating. So those are the things that really help with the mate selection. And that's what we try to enforce and incorporate in the Speed Cosmo show. So if folks who are interested in wanting to court people, and another question that you have to ask is, do you want to be monogamous or polygynous? Like, don't ask if you want to be polygynous in mid-stroke. You 2 years in, you say, yeah, I'm about to be polygynous. Like, let's be polygynous. The person is going to be looking at you like,
Stop it. Get some help.
Right. So you got to ask these things. So anyway, hopefully that answers that question on that. So yeah, but that's a good question. But we do have that, and that's one of the benefits of within ARNA. And no institution, nobody is telling you this. They try to use astrology, they try to use tarot, they try to use Chinese astrology, and they are not accurate. They all are copying from the Tzolk'in calendar, the Tzolk'in system mathematics. That's all where this stuff comes from, which again is the sheep, that's Aboriginal people. That's the Aboriginal people of North America. That's who designed that. So anyway, any questions? Otherwise, we hour and 32. I'm about to, if there is no other question, I give it one more minute. If there's no, hopefully this is helpful. Again, we try to make these things where, like, I know y'all be like, Kojo, these videos is long. I know. I'm trying. I'm trying. So yeah, y'all. Hopefully that makes sense, y'all. So don't forget to I'm gonna put that in the chat. Y'all know I gotta promote that. Don't forget, we got the Speed Cosmo show. If those who want to figure out how they want to start courting, they want to participate in that, I'm gonna put it in the. Can I even post it here? Are they trying to block me? Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, so that's also important. Definitely, we want people to start families. That's really the important thing. Starting healthy, happy families where people are operating in their purpose. They've created their purpose and they're planning their children. And then these children are gods and goddesses that are taking over the whole planet. Like, this is the mindset that you need to be thinking. Like, I want to mate with somebody based off of the criteria that they meet and that we have the best outcome to really win. So you don't have to guess. You don't have to freestyle. You shouldn't freestyle. That's the key thing. You should not freestyle. So anyway, I'm off my rocker a little bit as far as but I'm just so passionate. I may have to make a video or do a class on relationships because I know you're like, but Kojo, You already did that, sir. And you don't know what you. You know, we like to have fun around here. All right. If there's no other questions, I don't see anything on IG. I don't see anything in the chat, but definitely appreciate y'all's attention to class today. If y'all have things y'all want to discuss, y'all want to see, definitely shoot us an email, hawabregion6@gmail.com. But we definitely appreciate y'all's time today for class. And hopefully y'all found this useful, helpful, and insightful. So we'll see y'all next week. And don't forget, we have the regional swing in Arkansas, y'all. Love y'all. Peace.